Chapter 15. Gary and Ash arrived at Marcus Bright's home. Both were just heading home for the day, but the call came through. Gary's car was playing up, the handbrake slipping off even after he'd put it on securely. So he didn't take a risk with it. Ash had offered to drive him backwards and forwards to work that day and the next, while it was back with the Citroen dealership, getting checked out. Gary had looked online and found that many other people on internet forums were reporting the same issue. Hopefully, it would get fixed and Gary could park with peace of mind. They pulled up at the address, Gary checking it on the piece of paper that was put in his hand by Electra. "This is the one," Gary said, looking at the property, peeking out from behind the hedge. "Oh, let's go then," Ash said, looking at a set of keys that had been put in his hand by Electra. She sure was organized. The afternoon sun was setting behind the row of houses, the drizzle from earlier in the day changing to a late afternoon flurry of sunshine. Ash had always admired the way the Northeast did this. No matter how crappy the first part of the day was, it always seemed to make an effort at the end of the day, giving you hope for the following day. "Which key?" Gary asked, looking at Ash's hand. "This one looks like a front door key to me. How about you?" Ash replied. "Looks as good as any," Gary responded. Ash wondered why he'd bothered asking in the first place. As he offered up the key to the lock, it slid in neatly, as any new lock should. He turned the key 2 full revolutions in an anti-clockwise direction, and the door opened. As soon as Ash was inside, he was jumped upon, with blows raining down on his head. The struggle forced the door shut again with Gary on the outside, Ash and the keys on the inside with the assailant. Ash covered his head, hoping that the attacker would run out of energy and slow down, not that there was much sign of that happening. Gary looked along the side of the house, hoping for another means of entry. The new lock and the heavy door suggested that he would have some struggle getting inside that way. Looking along the left side of the property, there was nothing. The house had been built so close to the neighbor's property that a window would have meant each household being able to see straight into each other's home. Gary went back past the front door, seeing a struggle continuing inside. The other side of the property had a window, slightly ajar. Gary stepped up on a loose brick that was sticking out of the side of the building and climbed inside. Ash waited for a break in the proceedings to free up his hands and fight back. It was a good 30 seconds before he could hear heavy breathing from the person who was hitting him over the head repeatedly. Ash pushed them back, the man landing on his backside, looking up at Ash. He jumped to his feet, lunging at Ash before he had regained full height. Ash's knee gave way as the man landed on top of him, pushing Ash's back against the skirting board. Ash yelped in pain, trying to hold both his back and knee at the same time. The man stood over Ash, ripping an item out of a small parcel that was sat on the stairs. Ash looked past the man and saw a pile of parcels. At that point, he looked up at the man who had removed a Swiss Army knife from the parcel and was checking out the different blades, deciding which one to use on him. When he decided the blade that would help to set him free, he reached down towards the man who was in his home. Marcus paused for half a second, wondering who the man was and why they had got a key to his place. The half a second was enough. A blow to the back of the head from Gary knocked Marcus Bright out. The 2 detectives searched Marcus. "What's this?" Gary asked, as he pulled a box out of his pocket with a combination lock on. "Oh, let's take it with us," Ash said, rubbing the top of his head, searching for bumps. There were none present immediately, but he was sure that they would appear later on that evening. Gary stuffed it in his pocket. Gary looked at the rest of the home to see if there was anything else that might shed light on why Marcus Bright had returned home while Ash called for an ambulance. The man wasn't badly injured, but he was unconscious. Better that he get checked out before they brought him back to the station for questioning. "I'll go with him in the ambulance," Gary stated. "Are you sure?" Ash replied. "Yeah, I don't have a car anyway. And I hit him. If they needed details on what happened, then I can fill them in with it all. I'll grab a set of handcuffs from your car if I can. Best to have him secured to a hospital bed now we've finally got him." "Good idea. I'll tidy up here and head off for the day if you're okay with that," Ash asked out of politeness. He had every intention of signing off for the day and resting his aching head in front of the television. "Yep, you get your beauty sleep. I don't need any," Gary smirked. Within a minute, the ambulance was there, Gary explaining what had happened as the paramedics loaded Marcus Bright onto a stretcher. They checked his breathing, pulse, and looked into his eyes before getting the stretcher into the ambulance. Gary followed in the back with one of the paramedics, while the other jumped into the driver's seat. They were off and away. The Queen Elizabeth Hospital in nearby Gateshead was the destination. Gary could tell that they weren't too concerned about Marcus Bright's condition, as they didn't use the sirens on the journey. Arriving at the hospital, Marcus Bright was wheeled into a private room, Gary following to attach the handcuffs to the bed he was assigned. The doctor arrived in the room, asking Gary to wait outside. He decided that this was a good time to grab something from the vending machine. Gary could feel his energy levels slumping. A can of pop and a chocolate bar would give him a burst of energy and keep him going until he could head home. Gary walked along the corridor towards a secluded vending machine that seemed to be topped up with sweet treats from front to back. As he walked, a figure came out of a room behind him and started to follow.